Hey guys, how are you doing? It's Catherine, and I am really excited to be making this video today because Isaac and I have been working really hard on a new feature for Tangent Templates, and now it is ready to share with you. And that feature is called TT Turbo, which I think is an awesome name. And it's called TT Turbo because it turbocharges your book creation. It makes it really fast to create books. How fast, I hear you asking? Well, before I get going on what TT is and what it does, I first want to show you a couple of examples. So these are two books that I made last week, and I made these books sitting in the car with my laptop, waiting for my children to come out of a show they were seeing. So you can literally publish a whole book on Amazon while you're waiting in the car for your kids. That is pretty much what I did with these. So let me take a quick look at these books. So this one, and before I tell you too much about this, I want to say this is actually in the standard color at Amazon. This one's in premium color. This one I used a matte cover, and this one's got a glossy cover. But actually looking at the paper inside, for guided notebooks, guided journals, there is really not much quality difference between the premium and the standard pages. There we go. I don't know if that's a great comparison. But for a guided journal, the standard color KDP is actually perfect. I'm selling this book for $10, and each time I sell it, I get $2.56 in royalties from Amazon. So just to give you an idea of the pricing on the standard color books. But yeah, if you're doing a guided journal, standard color is absolutely fine. I don't recommend it if you're doing coffee table books or things with like high resolution photographs. But for journals, guided journals, prompt books, absolutely fine. So let's take a look at this book. So this book's called An Art Adventure Through Nature. And the concept is that it's a 72-page book. Each page represents a day, so it would take you through 72 days. That's like 2.5 months, and each day comes with 3 things. Well, actually 4. It has a theme, so the starting theme is forest, and it gives you an affirmation: I am grounded like the roots of a tree. It has a daily creative exercise: draw or collage a forest scene incorporating different textures for leaves and bark. And then the 4th thing on the page is it has a writing prompt. Describe a forest walk and how the experience can help you grow personally. And then there's a little box here, very pretty box. I used one of the trees that's in the TT images in Tangent Templates to just create that little watermark of a tree behind the text box. So if we look another page on, if we turn through the book, you'll see that each day has its own theme. So then we have sky. I am as limitless as the sky. And you can create a collage of clouds using cotton balls. That would be fun. And you can talk about how embracing the vastness of the sky could help your personal growth. And so on. You got flowers, like flowers. Write about a moment where you blossomed, because it's flowers, in a challenging situation. And so on for 72 pages. So that's one book. This is our art journal book. The other book I created is this one that's called A Poetry Soul Voyage. Now, this one I created in premium color. I don't recommend doing that for these because it'll eat into your royalties. But I wanted to do it just so I could show you guys the difference, because I really think page-wise, not a lot of difference between the two. So this one has a slightly different vibe. It's also a guided journal. And what this one does is, again, it gives you a theme. So the theme of this one is beginnings. And the poem of the day is The Journey by Mary Oliver. It asks you to write a poem about new beginnings and the emotions that accompany them. And at the bottom, it has a quote. It says, "Do not wait until the conditions are perfect to begin. Beginning makes the conditions perfect." That's actually a really good quote. I agree with that a lot. Sometimes you just got to jump in there and get going. I tell that to myself all the time. And again, you can see that each day it suggests a poem. because I figured you don't need to put the poem in here because A, that's a copyright issue, but B, people have Google. They can find poems very easily. So you look up your poem and then you write about your poem and then you have a nice encouraging quote at the bottom about your poem. So these, as I say, 2 books I made sitting in the car waiting for my kids. And as you can guess, I didn't come up with all these prompts myself. I didn't come up with all the... I came up with the idea, the sort of concept for the books. But all the content in them, it's ChatGPT. I am writing books with AI. I admit it. I am one of those terrible people. Let the hate begin in the comments. Okay, I don't think you hate me. I hope you don't hate me. This is awesome. This is a really exciting tool. So let's talk a little bit about ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is a chatbot. It is an artificial intelligence chatbot. And basically, you can ask it questions about all kinds of things. It's very, very clever. It has trained on vast amounts of data. I really like ChatGPT. I'm finding nowadays I use it more than Google. Honestly, I use it more than Google because it helps me problem solve. It helps me work through the problems I have or the ideas I have and find ways to make those ideas better, find ways to create content and generate new content. And it works really, really fast. So it speeds up my processes and I find it a really awesome tool. So ChatGPT is free. The basic model of ChatGPT is free. You can go to chat.openai.com and you can set up an account there and you can start using the 3.5 version, which is the standard basic version, and it's free. They also have a paid version, which gives you the GPT-4. Now, I am a big fan of GPT-4. It gives you more interesting results. It gives you better results than 3.5. But what I would say is play with the free version, get a feel for that if you haven't played with it yet, and then consider upgrading to the 4 version once you kind of have a gist of what it does. The other thing with GPT Plus, which is the paid version of ChatGPT, and I think at the moment it's $20 a month, so it's not super cheap, but gosh, you can get so much from it. Another thing with the paid version is that it's always available. Sometimes the 3.5 version is not available in peak times just because they have so much demand and it gets a little overloaded. A few other things to bear in mind with ChatGPT if you're using it to create content. The first one is it's not always accurate. Sometimes it does make up data. So it's really important to fact check anything. If you're creating something that's really factual, like, I don't know, a history book, you will want to do your fact checking and make sure that the facts are correct. And this is true if you're doing something like recipes or knitting patterns or anything like that. Make sure that the recipe or the pattern actually works. And you can actually encourage ChatGPT in this direction. You can ask it to fact check things for you. And sometimes it will correct itself and be like, oh yes, I made a mistake there. Let me give you better data. So work with ChatGPT, but be aware that sometimes it is inaccurate. So if facts are very important to your book, double check the facts. Another thing to be aware of with ChatGPT is that sometimes if you give it generic questions, it will give you generic answers. If you just say, give me 20 writing prompts, it will probably give you 20 very boring generic writing prompts. And it will probably also give those generic writing prompts to everyone else who asks it for writing prompts. So I strongly suggest with ChatGPT to add your own modifiers to your prompts. What that means is give it like details. Ask it for a specific tone of voice, or ask it for very specific types of prompt. So with my nature book, for example, I was quite specific about the theme that I wanted everything to relate to nature, and I was quite specific about the tone of voice I wanted. So I strongly recommend if you're using ChatGPT to make this kind of content, be as specific as you can be, and it will create much more unique content. For example, let's say 20 positive affirmations. Now, if we do this, it's going to give us some very generic. See, bang, the first one is, I am worthy of love and success and happiness. I have the power to create positive change in my life. Okay, we get it. So those are fairly generic affirmations. Let's do something a little bit more interesting. Let's say 20 positive affirmations for busy moms. So specifying a target audience is a really, really good idea here. And also specifying tone of voice. So I'm going to say 20 positive affirmations for busy moms with a peppy, go girl tone of voice. Let's check it out. Okay. Hey mama, you are doing an incredible job at juggling all your responsibilities. You're a multitasking queen and you're rocking it. Girl, you're a superhero in disguise. See how this creates something quite unique and quite specific to what we asked for. So this is really how you need to be using ChatGPT if you're creating content. You really need to give it those specifics so you get prompts that are unique content for your book. Okay, so we've got that. Let's go and take a look at TT Turbo now. So now we get to the exciting part where we're going to put Turbo to the test. So let's open up the designer tool, and I'm going to start with a very simple example. We're just going to make a 7x10 journal, and I'm going to add two things to it. I'm going to add an affirmation, and I'm going to add a page number. So let's start by hitting the rocket ship. Now I could just grab journal paper from here, from the presets, but I want to show you how I do it from the templates, because I just want to show you how to ungroup a template. So you can see I've dropped my template onto the page. What I'm going to do is click the Arrange tab and ungroup it. And this lets me actually go in and delete the bottom 4 lines. Gives us a little bit more space to work with. So I can move this down on the page. And the reason I'm moving this down is because I want to put the affirmation at the top of the page. And also I'm going to want to put a page number at the bottom. So now I can go to TT Turbo. Whoa, this is the new interface. This is TT Turbo. So it's not very complicated. It gives you 4 options. So the first one is import data. Now you're going to want to do import data if you're bringing in data from Google Sheets, from Excel, basically spreadsheet data, or if you've created a table in ChatGPT, you can just copy and paste your whole table into import data. We actually recommend that you export your data as a quoted CSV file, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So the first option, import data. The second option is a little bit simpler, and that's the one we're going to use in this example. The second one is insert list. So if you just have one list of data, you can use the insert list feature to put it in. You can also just type in here. So if you want, you can just go and put affirmations, and you can be like, you look great today. A new line, I know it's going well. Like whatever you want to put, you can actually just go in and type in there as well. So that's pretty cool. The third option you have is insert dates. So this is really nice because it allows you to create planners. You can just drop the dates onto any kind of page, and you can create a planner from any of the pages that we have in here. So we'll take a look at that in a moment as well. And then lastly, there's insert page numbers, which is pretty straightforward. It just puts page numbers onto your pages. So I think we're ready to import our first list. So let's go over to ChatGPT, and here's our affirmations that we created earlier. So I'm just going to grab these. I'm going to copy them. I'm going to go across to Turbo, and I'm going to paste those in. And then I'm going to give it a title. It's very important that you, if you're making lists, that you give it a title. Now, just be careful with ChatGPT because sometimes it will give you a title itself. So you want to make sure that you know that the title is only here in the titles. If the title is here in the list, it's going to be added twice. So just be aware of that. So we're going to say enter. And look at that. There's this nice spreadsheet now that we're looking at in Tangent Templates that has all of our affirmations in it. So you can go in and you can edit these, just double click and you can change these. You can put something else in there if you want. If you're like, your love and dedication to your family are truly and awesomely inspiring, you can go in and edit these. You can also add page numbers. So we're going to do that now. See, I just click add page numbers and it puts all your pages in there for you. You have a few other options. You can add another column if you want. If you want to add another column, you can just type the column in there, click add column and type in whatever you want. And you can also add dates to this. So we just have affirmation and page number. So I'm happy with this. We're going to click the button and there we go. That adds the fields to the page. So we're going to want the page number right down here at the bottom. Now, it's very important to make sure that your field stays within the margins. So you can see you don't want this text field to leak into the margins. You want to make sure it stays within them. And that's just so it doesn't cause any problems at KDP when you upload your book to them. So the way that this is going to work is that it fills the data out to the width of the field. So if the affirmation goes on to 2 or 3 lines, it will fill up this field and then it will fill underneath. So it will expand downwards vertically. So you want to make sure that you leave enough space here for your affirmation to take up 2 or 3 lines. You can usually get a feel of it by just looking back at your data and seeing like, okay, this probably isn't going to go on to more than 2 lines. Now, what's great is you can go in here and you can actually change the font. So I'm just going to click type and we can give this a different font. Let's see, we'll just put Architect's Daughter in there for now and we'll make it a little smaller, and and we're going to center it as well. There we go. So that hopefully will give us a really nice centered affirmation in that font. And then at the bottom we're just going to put the page number in the middle, and yeah, there we go. That looks great. So I'll make that a little bit smaller. It doesn't need to be quite so big. And when we're ready, what we're going to do is go back to TT Turbo, and you should have this import text button. And we're going to press it and watch what happens. So Turbo is doing its thing now. It's going to cycle through these pages. We have 20 affirmations in here. So it's going to create 20 pages and it's cycling through. It's going to do that twice. That's just the way the system works. So just watch it go through the pages twice. And when it's done, hopefully, ta-da, there you go. You can see there's all the affirmations at the top of the page and page numbers down at the bottom. And you can see that it's actually created pages based off page 1, based off that one page that we made. It's created 19 more pages and it's put the data on them. Okay, so let's take a look at how we create a dated planner using TT Turbo. This time we're going to create a bigger page. And I'm going to say with bleed because I want to put a background image on my planner. You can see here I have this pretty heart image in the background. So I'm going to say yes to bleed because the background is going to bleed to the edges of the page. So remember with bleed, if your book has white space around the edges, so traditional books tend to have white space around the edges, then you want to say no to bleed. If you have an image on the background or you have lines going all the way to the edge of the page, basically anything that stretches to the edge of the page, you want to say bleed. So I'm choosing bleed because I'm going to have a background image. So we're going to go ahead here and open the designer and I'm going to choose a planner page. So let's take a look. You can actually add dates to a lot of these. Like for example, the this week planner, the daily planner here, even the field trip planner, you could put dates on these. I'm going to do a weekly planner. So I'm just going to choose this one. And there we go. There's our planner template on the page. So you know the drill. We're going to ungroup this so we can edit it. So let me show you a really cool trick that you can do. If you just select something on the page, you can go arrange, and down here it says select all text. So you can use this to actually change the font on everything. So you can change the whole page font. So I'm going to do, oh, that's fun, the Museo Moderno font. I like that one. So we've changed the font. Now I can either delete this word planner if I don't want that showing up all the way through my book, or I can call it the Busy Mom's Planner. just change that text. I think I'm going to delete it. I don't think we actually need that because we're going to put dates in. And the other thing I want to do is add a pretty background image to this. So let's see, here are my pretty pictures that I have. I'm just going to choose this one here with these hearts. And what I do to make a nice background image is that I reduce the opacity on the image. So I'm going to make this about 40%, which turns it into a kind of like a watermark almost, like a very faded out picture. And I'm going to arrange that at the back of my screen. I'm going to turn margins off for a moment so I can make this big. I'm going to click full width and I'm going to center it. There we go. So now I have a beautiful image at the back of my planner. So just to recap, we changed the font, we deleted planner, and we put an image behind it. So now the fun bit, we can go to TT Turbo and add our data. So let's do that. We're going to go to Insert List because I want to paste in my affirmations. And again, it's just one column of data. We're not pasting in a table at this point. And I think I'm only going to need 10 of these. So let's go back to Turbo, and I'm just going to paste those 10 affirmations in there. Again, give it a title, and there they are. Okay, there's 10 in there. Now, I'm also going to go to Insert Dates because we're going to add a date range to this. So you can choose any date range you like. You have the power. You can create a daily planner, a weekly planner, monthly. It's up to you what span you want in your planner. So I'm going to start my date range on the 1st of May, which happens to be a Monday. So remember that generally with calendars, European calendars tend to start on a Monday. American calendars tend to start on a Sunday. But with planners, they almost always start on a Monday because they tend to be focused around work or school. So I strongly recommend starting your date range on a Monday. Now, this actually works out well for 2024 because 2024, the 1st of January is a Monday. So that's really neat and tidy. But usually you want to start on the Monday before New Year's Day. So we're just going to do a little date range for May and June. So let's start it on May the 1st, and we're going to run to let's end it on a Monday. So we'll run to the 3rd of July. And people might want to do short-term planners or calendars if they're doing them for a specific purpose. So if you're a teacher and you're running an 8-week course, for example, maybe you just want to create a planner for your students that just covers those 8 weeks. So there's a lot of reasons that you might want to do a shorter planner. So here we go. This is going to be a weekly planner. So I've selected weekly. So you can see here we've got 10 dates going from May the 1st through to July the 3rd. 10 pages. Great. So we're going to add that column. So you can see I cheated a little bit because I knew I needed 10 affirmations. So I have 10 affirmations, 10 dates. So that's nice and neat and tidy. Now, if you have more affirmations than dates or more dates than affirmations, this will keep on adding pages until it gets to the end of all the rows. So if you have more affirmations than dates, you might end up with blank dates. If you have more dates than affirmations, you'll end up with blank affirmation spaces on the page. So just be aware of that and try and design your tables so they even out. You can also delete and edit rows as you want, so you can do your editing in here. So I think we're ready to add the fields to our page. So here we go. There's the affirmation and there's the date. And these are pretty big text, so I'm going to make these a little bit smaller. So let's change our date. Make that a little bit smaller, probably about 18. Yeah, there we go. And I'm going to want to position this. I'm going to right align it and position it over here. So the date, hopefully, will sit really nicely on this line here. And it should be right aligned with everything else. Now, the affirmation, we're going to put that at the top. Again, the text size is really big, so I'm just going to go down here and we'll make the text size. Let's make it more like 16. There we go. And we'll center it as well. Let's turn the margins back on to make sure everything's within the margins. Yeah, that looks great. So what I recommend doing is saving your project at this point. I should probably give it a nice name. So I can double click there and we'll call it Affirmation Planner. And just click outside to save it. And I'm saving this just so that when I import the data, if something doesn't look quite aligned the way I want it to, or it looks a little bit off, I can just reload this back in without having to do it all again from scratch. So I think we're ready. We have our one page designed. And the beauty of this is you design one page and now you have your whole book. So let's go to TT Turbo. So you'll see you have some options here. It tells you your start page, and your start page is going to be the template for the rest of the book, basically. So if you say create new pages, it's going to add new pages based off that first start page that you have. If you say no to new pages, then it's just going to put the data onto the pages that are already in your project, and then it's going to stop. So because we only have one page in this project, it's going to stop after the first page if we say no. So we want to say yes to new pages. Add content. This allows you to add the content on both sides or just the left or the right side. So this is really cool if you want to create a planner with images down the left-hand side. You could just do add content to the right side only, and that will leave your left side blank for you to add an image. So you can create some really beautiful picture planners doing that. The third option asks you what you want to add. So you can add the fields and content from page 1, or you can add the fields only. So if I said fields only, what this would do would just create blank pages that just had the affirmation and the date on. So what's kind of nice about that is that if you want different pages throughout your project, you can design the whole project and then it will drop the affirmation and the date onto any of those pages. So for this project, no, we want the fields and the content. We want the whole of page 1 to be replicated. So let's go ahead and do this. So it's going to count through the 10 pages. It's going ahead and it's creating those 10 pages now. Again, it does do it twice. So you see it go through the numbers twice. And there it is. Check it out. It's a planner. It has an affirmation at the top and it has the date there. And you can see if we go through each page that the affirmation's different on each one. And you have the date counting up in weeks. So you have a page for each week of your date range. So there we go. That's how you create a planner using this. Now, there are more complex things you can do with planners. I've made some really amazing picture planners by using the picture book tool to bring all my images in, and then using the turbo tool to create the right-hand side. So I'm going to make another video a little bit later on that will go into that in more detail if you want to create a picture planner. But for now, this gives you a lot of power to create your own dated planners, your own dated pages, and use them however you want. You can use all of our templates. So get creative. Try making homework planners. Try making planners for particular events like travel, or maybe like a recovery process, dealing with a disease or symptoms of something. You could absolutely make a dated tracker for that. So you have a lot of power here. Okay, so now let's jump to the really fun part, which is where we start using data from ChatGPT. So we're going to work with this book. So just to recap, we have 4 fields on the page. So the first field is stars. That's our theme. So we've chosen a theme for each page. We have an affirmation, I shine brightly in the night sky. We have a creative exercise, and we have a writing prompt. So there's actually the theme, the affirmation, the exercise, and the writing prompt. And then actually I've also added a page number to the bottom. So let's take a look at how we can build this data in ChatGPT. Now, I have a confession. I'm kind of a crazy power prompter, so I did this all in one prompt. However, if you're just learning ChatGPT, or at least learning how to create tables in ChatGPT, I recommend taking this step by step and building up your table. So let's jump in with a new chat in ChatGPT, and we're going to start out with the general concept of our book. So I started out with, I want to create a book that has 30 pages, one for each day of a month. Each page will have a theme relating to nature. The concept of the book is to inspire people to unleash their artistic side. So let's just take that, because that's a great start. And what I would say with ChatGPT is the more information you give it, the more you tell it what you're trying to do, the more likely you are to get something that's tailored to what you want. Like, you actually have a lot of control over this. And I think people are a little bit scared of giving it all the information that it would like. The more information you give it, the more it's going to give something back to you that's actually useful. So I'm going to give it this basic introduction. I want to create a book with 30 pages, one for each day of the month. Each page will have a theme relating to nature. The concept of the book is to inspire people to unleash their artistic side. Let's give it more information on this. We're going to say the theme should be something simple like forest or sky. So you can give it suggestions. You can absolutely give it examples of what you want. And I found that I get really good results when I do start with examples, or I give it an example list of the kind of details I'm looking for. So the theme should be something simple like forest or sky. The concept of the book is to inspire people to unleash their artistic side. Great. So I can say generate a table with the 30 simple themes in one column. The header should be theme. Let's see what it does. So now it should go through and create a very simple table for us. Wow, look at that. There's our first table in ChatGPT. So it's given us a list of 30 simple nature themes for our book. So while it's finishing that, we can add another column. So we can say add another column to this table with a positive affirmation related to the theme. And we can give more information on this. We can be like, the affirmation should be less than, 14 words, and be written in a kind, informal tone. Okay, so now it's going to go through that table again, and hopefully it's going to add the affirmation to it. Brilliant. There we go. So now you're starting to see how we can actually build up a table with all the data in that we're going to need to add to our pages. So these look great. Sky, the vast sky reminds me of limitless possibilities. I am as strong and resilient as a mountain. So the other things that we wanted in here, we wanted a writing prompt and we wanted a creative exercise. So I'm going to say add 2 more columns to this table. Please include a writing prompt that is, let's call it a journaling writing prompt that is related to the theme of the day, and also a creative exercise. The creative exercise should use minimal materials and involve activities like drawing, painting, or collaging. Okay, so it says please include a journaling and writing prompt and also a creative exercise. So I'm also going to give it the headers for these and say the headers for the columns are prompt and exercise. Great, so hopefully it's going to work on this table and add in another 2 columns. I see it working. There it goes. So this is great. I have made a guide to doing this. So you should be able to download the guide. There should be a link under this video. And that will walk you through what to do if you have any problems. One thing that happens quite often with ChatGPT is it just runs out. So it can only output a certain amount of data and then it might stop. If that happens, you just go in here and you type continue and it will keep generating content. There we go. You can see it's stopped on lightning. So I can just say continue and hopefully it will continue. There we go. So when we paste this, what we'll probably want to do is we'll paste this content and we're probably going to want to ignore that line because it broke, and then we'll just get the rest there. And we'll paste. So we have our data. Now we can go back to Tangent Templates and work on our page design. So I'm going to go into Turbo and I'm going to paste in the data. So you can see import data, I'm just pasting it in here. Another way you can do this is if you want to export the data, you can download it as a CSV file. So that should also work. If you're doing it that way, you can just click this button here to upload the file. Another thing you can do in ChatGPT, which is awesome, is you can say, format this table as a quoted CSV file. I know that sounds really techy. A CSV file is just comma separated data. So it will put each field in its own space and then use a comma to separate them. A quoted CSV file just puts little quote marks around all the fields. And Tangent Turbo really likes quoted CSV files. So if you're having any problems bringing in the data, turn it into a CSV file. The last thing I like to say here, format this table as a quoted CSV file. Give me the results in a code block. And I like doing that because you'll see what it does. It opens up a little window here. Now you can see what I mean by a CSV file. You can see it has the header at the top, theme, affirmation, prompt, exercise, and these are comma separated with quotes. And then underneath, it's filling in all the fields here. So there it is. I'm going to copy the code. You can see it says copied. And now I can go back to Tangent Templates, open up Turbo, and I can paste in this data just like this. Now we should just be able to say enter. And look at that, it's put the data in beautifully into a spreadsheet. Now, if you do get any error messages while you're importing your data, just check through, make sure that the end is finished, that all quote marks are finished off, and make sure that you have headers in there. But ideally, if you're copying your data in from here, it should be fine. It should just paste in with no problem at all. So there we go, we've got theme, affirmation, prompt, and exercise. We're also going to want to add a page number as well. These match with what's in the book, the theme, the affirmation, the prompt, the exercise, and the page number. So we're going to go ahead and add those fields to the page. Oh no, it's a scary blank page. Well, let's design our page and see what we want to do with this. So first thing, we had a pretty background color. So I'm going to choose one of my palettes here. I'm going to use the Pretty Pastels palette. And we're going to make the background, let's make it that color. I'm going to make it a little bit lighter than that. So I'm just going to, there we go, that looks nice. And we have a writing box. You can see we have this writing space on the page as well. So I'm going to add that in. And the way I do these is I actually create two boxes. And I'm going to show you how I do that. So let's make one box first. And I'm going to give it a corner radius so it has nice curvy corners. And I'm going to make the border a little thicker. There we go. Make it about 1.5. And let's give the border, let's give that a nice color too. I'm going to make that a little darker. I'm now going to copy this. So I'm going to fill this with a lighter color. So let's choose a color from this. We'll do this one. Let's make it lighter. There we go. And that looks good. And now this one, I'm going to use this to create my lines. So I'm just going to go fill space, lines and dots. I'm going to use that color for the lines and dots there. And I'm going to say fill space with wide rule lines. Great. Okay. So now I can just grab these, put them into our box there. I'll get rid of top and bottom. So that's how we have a really nice looking space with lines in it. And I'm actually going to group that so we can just drag that around and move it together. So we have that nice. And what's great is once you've grouped it, you can stretch it, you can move it around. So that's a really nice space to write in. I'm also going to add an image to it. So the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to choose a tree because that's how I did it here. So I'm going to choose a pretty looking tree. And I'm going to make this a bit bigger. And I'm going to put it over the writing space. And I'm gonna give it color, purple. I want it to match more with the box. So I'm actually gonna just grab that color there. There we go. And I'm gonna make that go to the back. Oh no, it's disappeared. So I'm just gonna change the opacity on this box to like 70 so that the image shows through like that. So you can tweak this to get the effect that you really want to get with it. I'm just gonna make everything line up nicely in the center. So there we go, that's how you can make a writing space like this. You can see there's mine there. And now I'm gonna lay out the fields. So I'm gonna put the theme at the top. So we're gonna center that and the affirmation underneath. And then we're going to put the page number at the bottom down here. And we're going to move this, we'll make this a bit bigger. Down. So the writing prompt's going to need to be close to the writing space. So I'm going to make this smaller so again it doesn't bleed into the edge of the margins. And I'm going to put the exercise there. So I want to create a header for this to say that it's a writing prompt. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to type in writing prompt there. And I'm also going to give a header to the creative exercise up here. So creative exercise. There we go. And I'm going to left align all of this. Bring it with that. But I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to save my project. And now we can go back to TT Turbo and import the text. So let's watch it do its magic. And there it is. It has filled out this page. It looks great. It's got the page numbers there. It has the prompt. It has the creative exercise. And that's how you do it. You can build your guided journal. So my poetry journal here, I did that exactly the same way. I just used like dot grid space instead of lined space. You can see how with the poetry book that ChatGPT actually did a great job of picking themes. Like it literally started with beginnings. So with this book, the Art from Nature book, I asked it to use themes from nature. So it did like desert, sunrise, stars, snowflakes, whatever. With this book, I asked it to use light philosophy themes. And I kind of love what it came up with. It came up with like reflection, change. What else is in here? Nostalgia, optimism, transformation. So ChatGPT is kind of brilliant at coming up with these ideas. If you give it the kind of theme you want to see, the kind of ideas you want to see, the concept you want to see, it can do some magic, but you have to work with it. You have to see it as a sort of collaboration. You can't just sit back and be like, okay, write a book for me. You have to do some of the work yourself. Once you have an idea, you give it the idea, it can work really, really fast. And as I say, I ended up making these 2 books in the car, waiting for my kids. So it's that easy to create a book. Now, you can absolutely use this to create books with more content in. Recipe books, for example. Like this was just a fun idea I had for a pie recipe book. And the idea of this is that it has 50 pages, one for each state in the United States. And there is a pie to represent each state. So I just asked ChatGPT to create 50 pie recipes that represent each of the states in the United States. And what I asked it for was the state, a description of the pie, the ingredients, and the method. Now, I could actually tweak this a bit because it should probably have line breaks. Look in my guide. I talk about how to do that in my guide to using TT Turbo. And then I have my entrepreneur book for kids here. It gives ideas to kids for things they can do to make money, things they can do to be an entrepreneur. Buying Tangent Templates is a good one. You can make books with your kids. Whoa. I've been doing that with Sid. He's 14 now, and we started Tangent Templates 5 years ago. So he's been making books since he was 9. So that's a fun thing to do. But this idea is for kid entrepreneurs. And so what I asked it for was a bunch of suggestions of businesses that kids could run. So like a dog walking service, a lemonade stand. And it has a description of what that is. It has a step-by-step guide on how to do it. And it has a tip. And then, of course, it has the page number. So now I'm going to show you how you can create pages that have multiple pieces of data on one page. So that could be something like a joke book, because a joke book's going to have like maybe 5 or 6 jokes on each page. Or it could be something like a trivia book, a quiz book, handwriting paper. We'll take a quick look at handwriting paper because you can make a handwriting book with this. But for now, I'm going to use jokes as my example for this. So what we're going to do is go back to ChatGPT and I'm going to say, please generate 50 jokes about science, math, and robots that are suitable for 12-year-old kids. Now, because I'm going to want 5 or 6, in fact, if we look at our page here, we've probably got room for about maybe 5 jokes on a page. So I'm going to go to ChatGPT and I'm going to ask it to give these to me in 5 columns. So I'm going to say, please create a table for this with 5 columns. The headers are joke 1 through to joke 5. So let's watch it do its work. Perfect. So it's doing exactly what we want. It's creating a table full of jokes. Although I love this one. Why do chemists like nitrates so much? They're cheaper than day rates. Hey! Now, you do need to check through this data, curate it, because sometimes what ChatGPT thinks is funny is just not funny and completely misses the mark. So always check through what it gives you and make sure that the jokes are actually funny and good. So you'll probably want to curate this a little bit in Google Sheets before you bring it into Turbo. So the reason I did this, that I split this into 5 columns, I can show you now. I'm just going to copy the table into the data. Great. Okay, so it's got joke 1, joke 2, joke 3, joke 4, joke 5. It's done a good job with that. So we're going to add the fields to the page. And you can see how this has done it. So it's now given us these 5 fields, joke 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can bring 5 down to here. And then what I can do is just select them all and say arrange, distribute evenly. If we go over to TT Turbo, we can say import text. And what it should be doing now is putting those jokes on the page laid out. Beautiful. There we go. We have the basics of a joke book just like this. So the last thing we're going to look at is how to make handwriting paper. So for this, I'm going to use the rocket ship and I'm going to actually use the handwriting paper here. So if you look at the handwriting paper, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces, at least on the 7x10. If you're making a bigger page, it might have more spaces. So make sure you count these dotted lines. That tells you how many spaces there are on the handwriting paper. So we're going to need 8 words per page. So what we're going to do is go to ChatGPT and I'm going to say, please generate a list of, let's see, we'll do 100 to start. 100 vocabulary words suitable for, let's do 3rd graders. And we can choose a topic. So I'm going to just say on the topic of animals, but you can have fun with this. This is how you can niche a handwriting book. Like, for example, you could do space, you could do dinosaurs, you could do something really interesting like maybe your city or your state or country. Like, for example, if I was doing San Diego, I could do like Balboa Park. I could put gas lamp, like words that are specifically related to my city. And I think that would be a really cool niche for a handwriting book, especially if a kid was going on vacation to a particular place. Like, that would be kind of fun if the parents were taking them to New York and they had a handwriting book with New York phrases. That would be awesome. So for this one, we're just going to stick with animals. Now, just like I did with the jokes, I'm going to need to divide these into 8 columns for this. Again, the reason I'm doing 8 columns is because we have 8 spaces, 1, 2, 3. So we're going to need 8 fields on each page. So what I'm going to say is create a table with 8 columns. The headers are word 1 through word 8. And this will give us the 8 fields that we can put onto each page. So let's let it do its thing. Great. Okay, so it's generated a table. Now, I have a couple of thoughts on this. I think some of these words might be a bit too advanced for third graders. I'm not sure about viviparous. So a couple of these you might want to edit and fix those. And you can actually ask it to fact check itself and say, some of these words are too advanced for third graders. Please correct them. For example, viviparous. So you can do things like this and it will probably generate the table again and correct it for you. So you can do your own troubleshooting like that. But for now, we're just going to take this and we can either copy and paste it like that, or we can format it as a quoted CSV file. I'm just going to take it like that and we're going to go to our page here. I'm going to open up Turbo and paste it in. Boom. Okay, so we have our vocabulary words here, and I'm going to go ahead and add those fields to the page. So you can see we have word 1 through to word 8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this down here. I'm actually going to select all the text, and I'm going to convert this to the handwriting font there. So I'm going to go Tangent Handwriting. Now, I think you need a 40-point text. That's what I found works best with this, is usually 40 points. So I'm going to position this carefully here. And it's a little bit fiddly to position it. You only really need to worry about 1 and 8. So you can put these kind of haphazard wherever you want. We'll bring those in. And let's see. We've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we want to make sure that number 1 is positioned properly. So there we go. I'm going to make sure 1 is there. You probably want these small letters right there on the line. And you want word 8 to be there on the line. And what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to move the paper out of the way for a moment. I'm going to align these all to the left. There we go. And I can put the template back now behind them. Make sure that's still lining up. The other thing you want to do is just select them all and you're going to say distribute evenly. And that will move all the ones in the middle into position there. So now when we move this, look at that. Everything is lined up nicely. They're all in the right place and evenly spaced. Okay, great. So we are ready to go with our handwriting word. So I'm going to save my project and we're going to go back to TT Turbo and import text. Look at that, we have handwriting page. So that's how you can create a handwriting book in Tangent Templates. So you could add dotted lines to this if you want as well. We've got the dotted font as well. So if you want to, you can play with that as well. See, we have the dashed version of that. If we go back to my saved file, you can see another way I could do this is actually do word 1, and I could have that in the regular Tangent handwriting font. And then I could actually copy and paste that and put it in again. So if I get rid of word 2, I can have word 1 underneath it, and I could put this in the dashed font there. So now if I generate it again, word 1 will show up with the solid font and then in the dashed font underneath. So really, really powerful. You can play around with this, you can curate it, you can add whatever designs you want to it. But this is how you use Tangent Templates Turbo to make all kinds of books, from recipe books to planners to whatever you can think of. It can get really, really creative. And I feel like I'm barely scratching the surface of what this can actually do. Again, caveats. Get creative with your prompts. You really need to get creative, otherwise it's going to give you generic responses, and Amazon are not going to be happy if you're just creating a bunch of generic text that has the same stuff in as everyone else. So get creative and you can create some really amazing, unique books for your audience. All right, guys, I hope you have a great time with this. Let me know what you would like to see. I will be making more videos about this because it does so much. So let me know what you would like to see. I know a lot of you are asking about Midjourney because I've been posting a lot of Midjourney images. I am hoping to give you a lot of information about Midjourney soon. We have a lot planned, a lot in the works. So look out for that. And I hope you have a great time creating books with Tangent Templates Turbo. There's a lot of T's in there. I hope you make some awesome books like this. And lastly, if you're enjoying this channel, if you're enjoying watching my videos, please do remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get notifications when I make new videos. All right, guys, have a good one. Bye.